Did you know that stress is a hormonal response from the body? Hi, you're listening to Curing Curiosity. I'm your host, Christopher, and this week I'm doing an episode solo. Hopefully, don't get tired of the sound of my voice, because you'll be hearing a lot of it. I don't have a set topic to discuss for this week. I usually plan stuff out on a Word document. If you listen to last week's episode about how different people podcast, you understand my planning, but I usually just go on a Word document, type out a rough sketch of what to discuss, and that also gives me a rough estimate of how long the episode's going to be, depending on how many topics I have. But this might be a shorter episode, maybe around 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes at most. So sorry if you're hoping for a longer episode, but unfortunately, I don't think I could do that. Finding a topic for this episode was kind of difficult. I went through about 3 topics that I wanted to do solo, and this was really supposed to be done with a guest, and she had a really interesting topic that actually got me interested. But with some difficulties, that isn't happening, unfortunately. And maybe we can do that in a future episode, but I'm not sure. So, again, going back on finding a topic for this episode, I went from talking about procrastination, which I found really fitting because I procrastinate a lot. I procrastinated with recording this episode, mostly because I didn't know how I was gonna work out doing it solo, because it's my first solo episode. It's only my third episode, but it's also my first solo one, so I don't know how a solo episode is gonna work out. I hope you guys still like it. Then I went from talking about my experience in student council, because I thought I could talk about that. Student council is close to my heart. I've done it for roughly 4 years. Well, it was fun. I was gonna talk about that, and I did try to talk about that for about an hour, and it never worked out. I just couldn't. I did one recording, and I went through all my topics in about 2.5 minutes, and I didn't like it. I felt like I talked a bit too fast, which is a problem for me. I talk fast a lot, and it's an issue when I'm trying to discuss stuff and I'm trying to prolong it for a certain amount of time. But it's also a struggle with me with oral presentations in school. When I do an oral presentation that had to do like last around 3 minutes, I would usually talk for about a minute and a half, and that's it, because I don't pace myself when I speak. That's an issue I face. So trying to pace myself when I speak is difficult, and I've tried pacing myself in the past, but I just can't. It's how I talk. If I talk fast, I apologize. If I don't enunciate my words properly, I also apologize. I do kind of struggle with that as well. This is gonna be one interesting episode. I'll be honest. And anyways, going back on the topics I had originally planned, I also planned to talk about social media, which is interesting because of Generation Z. We've had social media throughout most of our life, so it's interesting that we know a lot about it, but at the same time, I use social media to promote this, and there's a lot of good things and bad things about it, a lot of pros and cons, and I felt like that can be discussed for a future episode on its own. Honestly, that's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for listening, and tune in next week, and hopefully we'll cure your curiosity. Bye, guys.